Like kind of.
Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. Stand and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so next on the agenda, we need to, we're going to change the order a bit. We have to approve the agenda first. So I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Any seconds? Okay, so what we're going to do is we have to amend the agenda. And the first order of business is with the approval of the agenda. Second, and then in addition to that, superintendent report will move to right after administrator director reports. The comments from the audience, the agenda items will be item 8, and then the addition of comments from the audience, non-agenda items will be in place of superintendent reports, item 12, which will be an add underneath, in place of item 12.
I will make a motion for the amended agenda.
Okay,
That's it.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, next on the list is approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll make a motion, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the former meeting.
Okay, a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, trustee Hall, first, and Carlin, Carlin? Barton, trustee Barton, second that, all those in favor?
And I have one correction to those minutes on the annual report of the January 18th. I did want to make a note that it was, in terms of elect the chairman, it was trustee Hall made the motion for the chair, and you can see that by looking at the video at 17 seconds.
Okay. Is that the only correction?
Yes, it is.
The
Okay.
correction is noted.
Okay. So, all those in favor of the amended minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda is celebrations and delegations. Do we have any? None? Next, board focus, discussion items. I should ask, I need a motion to bring the board focus and discussion items to the floor.
I'll make a motion to bring the board focus discussion items to the floor.
Okay, trustee Hall first. Second. Trustee Reinbold second. Okay, discussion. Okay, seeing none, the item is closed. Board focus, I'm sorry, board reports. Any board reports?
I guess.
Okay.
No.
All right, next on the item, agenda is administrator director reports. Do I have a motion to bring that to the floor?
I'll make a motion to bring the administrator director reports to the floor.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm screwing up. So, administrators, any administrators reports?
Can director go first?
Yes.
She lost her rock, paper, scissors.
I did. Mr. Davis was doing it.
So I'm Kim Shaner, I'm the Special Ed Director here at West Bonner County School District. And I did some more charts and graphs just to show you guys kind of where our special education population is. We currently have 147 students receiving special education services. As you can see, the highest number at 74 students is at Priest River Elementary. We have 11 students at Priest River Junior High. We have 33 students at Priest River High School, 26 at Idaho Hill Elementary, and 1 at the lake. And I think I missed a junior high somewhere. No, anyways. So we, you can see by the second graph how many teachers in relation to each of those numbers. We just hired a really incredible life skills teacher for K-3 3-6 at the elementary school. I wanted to talk a little bit about our contracted services that we paid this year. And those are services, I think Ms. Pavey had talked about those unfunded mandates. And this is one of those things where we get into a situation where we have to provide services. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're funded services, and it doesn't necessarily mean we have the people to provide those services in our district. One of those being our speech language pathologist. We have to have a speech language pathologist to evaluate our students with speech and language issues. We currently don't have one in our staff, so we've had to contract with other companies. Our occupational therapist. We do not have enough students to require a full-time occupational therapist, but we have to provide those services. Physical therapist is another one. Where we're really struggling is finding behavior specialists, finding those people qualified to work with our students with behavior issues. And as you can see, that's a big chunk of money. But when a student comes and has a one-on-one or a behavior issue, we can't just say, oh, sorry, we don't have that person for you. So we have to provide those services. Currently, even though we're using outside services, our outside services don't have any more people either. So we are doing everything we can to recruit people with degrees to come in and work with our behavior students. I think next month at the board report, I'll go a little bit more in depth with our contracted services, but I just kind of wanted to get you guys thinking about those contracted services a little bit. I know there's been a lot of questions about them. So, like I said, we have been lucky enough to hire a couple of teachers who have a lot of experience recently, but we still seem to get that large population of behavior issues within all of our schools. So one of the things our department has done to increase morale was we implemented a Gold Star program, and anybody in our department who get nominated for any reason, they get a Gold Star, they get put in for a drawing. Every 2 weeks we'll draw, and they get I've been buying gift cards for them, and they get a gift card. But it's really neat to go around to the schools, and they have those little gold stars up on their bulletin boards and stuff, so it seems to be working. Looking forward, I really want, I guess, the board to think about how do we keep our employees? How are we going to really keep those good teachers that have experience, and how do we recruit those people like a speech language pathologist or even an occupational therapist, we could look at sharing with another district. I guess I would really like you guys to think about that as I don't have the answer. I know, and I think I say this all the time, but I know, we tried to hire a couple speech language pathologists and they've turned us down based on their salary. We also need a personal care nurse really bad, and we're really struggling for that. We have a student, another one of the unfunded mandates, who requires full-time nursing care. And once again, it's hard to get a nurse to come and work for what our pay scale is. Another idea I had is how can we really build capacity on our own employees so we don't have to contract those services out. So I just wanted to leave you guys with that and I guess give you an idea of where special services and our staffing and our students are. You guys have any questions?
Yeah, the figures that you have here on the top of the graph, what time frame?
Those were contracted services paid from the time school started through the end of December.
Okay, so just for this
Just for, yes.
I guess I have one question for you, Kim, is, I know that some school districts are using a program, Grow Your Own. Would
Yes.
that work with us for the special services?
It could, yes. I have had a couple of universities contact me, where they promised to get people through their programs. I also was on a meeting with all the special ed directors and they're talking about doing BACA. It's a behavior program and trying to get it through the state to have it a pupil and personnel services certificate for it. So it's a applied behavior analysis certificate.
and they charged a percentage of the training, so they didn't ask for everything by any means. Was that all of your questions, Vice Chair Brown? Thank you. And Trustee Hall, you had a few different questions regarding Harlow's, Newport Towing, RWC Group, and Inland Northwest Therapy. And I went ahead and I made copies of those purchase orders and invoices for you, unless you have specifics on those.
And this RWC Group, is that Harlow's? It was for $23,100. Is that Harlow's for their customers, or what is that? Even though it's RWC Group, it's a professional services at 85%, so it seems like it has to be linked with transportation.
So,
or am I wrong?
You are correct. That is linked with transportation. It's linked with transportation. It's mechanical services. Yes. So I don't think that there's an affiliation with RWC and Harlow's, but it is mechanical work for the buses. But here are those invoices and purchase orders for you. Did you have any other questions, Trustee Hall?
No, I'll look at those quickly, but that was the big one.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, old business. Do we have any old business? Okay, moving on. New business, action items. I need a motion to item A, facilities use agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve the facilities use agreement, or I can bring it to the table.
Yes, that's what we
I'll make a motion to bring it to the table.
Okay, Trustee Hall first, Trustee Burton second. You want to speak to us?
Hello, everyone, for probably the 20th year. Connection 97, Masonic Lodge would like to bring another gun show to the school district and raise a little money for scholarships and donation to the junior high and many, many other projects that we have throughout the year. Requesting set up on Friday the 7th and then being open Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 5, 9 to 3. And as always, we clean the floor, put down tarps. We have security. We ask the police department and the sheriff department to come by and visit us a couple of times throughout the day and the evening, make sure everything's okay. We do have guards and everything is secured. So I don't think we've ever had an issue of any kind that I'm aware of, and so we're just requesting the use of that again, and with your permission. One other thing too, if I may, in order to facilitate a little more ability to plan ahead, would it be possible that for maybe the first of the year like this, and then get a secondary approval for sometime in the fall, like August, September, October, depends on what. That way we can plan around other gun shows. And of course, this is more than a gun show. There's leatherworks and all kinds of stuff there, ammo and so on and so forth. If that would be something we could approve, and we just send in a note or come and ask you for that weekend. And then if it were not a problem, you know, we can move ahead.
Okay, so what you're asking for is approval for two
Yeah,
times?
it would make it a lot easier on us because it's a scramble to get insurance. I've been contacted by the insurance agents already, and until you say yes tonight, I can't buy the insurance because it's state specific, so.
Okay.
Yeah, anything like that would help.
Okay, so, motion on the table is to approve, connect to Masonic Lodge for two days, or two times, the future date pending, is that correct?
Yeah, we could, as soon as we can look at a schedule, because these guys all schedule out a year or more ahead of time, they know where they're going. Would be very helpful. We could give you that address, or, I'm sorry, that date pretty quickly.
So, Chair Rutledge, I would say at this point, because it's been advertised and if this has been posted for this date, that Mr. Nagel bring his proposal.
back with that information
Okay.
at a future board meeting with that more,
Yeah.
those open dates.
Just giving us more lead time.
But this has been posted as
Right.
it is, and
Okay.
I think we don't wanna mix, we
Okay.
don't wanna mix
Fair
things.
enough.
Okay.
Okay, so the motion on the table is to approve the application as stated. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, okay, the motion carries.
All right.
Others are
Thank you very, very much, and we'll do our best to do what we can for the community, as always, 20-some years later. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
No, it's April 7th, right?
Huh?
It's not 7th, that was April 7th, right?
Yes, April.
Okay,
So it's fine.
next on the new business action items is consideration and approval of Holly Troxel contract. Do I hear a motion to bring it to the table?
I'll make a motion to bring it, the Holly Toxel contract to the table
Okay,
for consideration.
trustee Hall first, do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, trustee Barton seconds, any comments?
I think it makes sense, given our work session, that we just had, I think it's critical that we, probably, especially for this first time with the new Idaho code and the language that needs to be put on the ballot, make sure that we do it right. I would be in favor of approving this contract and retaining these attorneys.
Okay. Any other comments?
So the fees that are on the second page, this is basically what we're looking at? Is that correct?
That's my understanding of the contract, yes.
Yes. It's per hour, whatever they say per hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, and gave an
Yeah,
estimate.
I was gonna say,
They gave
yeah,
an
it's just the total, that would be super.
Yes, no, but there was an estimate, but there was there's an hourly charge.
Okay.
But their estimate was there.
Perfect.
So I think in order for us to do diligence on this and make sure that whatever ends up being proposed is proposed correctly, it would make sense. So look at having the outside help.
Okay. Any other comments?
I was just kind of curious, and well, these guys are lawyers, and the lawyers that we have, that we maintain, they can't do this? Or is this, these guys specialize at, is that the reason?
They're specialized. They work with a few different school districts in our area and have a significant amount of experience doing this.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Okay. All those in favor of, approval of the Holly Troxel contract, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next on the agenda is the policy first read. Do we want to pull that up, or do we just, do you guys read, you guys run through the policies, do you have markups?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And the markups.
Okay, I need a motion to bring policy 4105, public participation in board meetings, to the floor.
I'll make a motion to bring policy 4105, public participation in board meeting to the floor.
Okay, trustee Hall first. Read.
You wanna move this?
Just a second. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Vice Chair Brown, seconds. Okay, discussion?
There's several things on the 4105 that I am looking at and have concerns about.
Okay,
And if it can be brought up, I will go down through what I'm looking at. And I appreciate, first I want to say I appreciate the Policy Review Committee for taking a look at this. I did look at the ISBA policies and also cross-reference them with our West Orange County School District 4105 policies. So in terms of if you're looking at these policies, I do have a question whether the committee, there is a highlighted yellow section that West Orange County School District currently doesn't include, but was included in the ISBA version, which is a person who disrupts the educational process or whose presence is detrimental in the morals, health, safety. Were you thinking of scratching that or adding that?
So yeah, I can speak to that. Admittedly, that was an older version. We talked about that. That was in there, and we scratched it in the later version, because if you go to page 2, I think it says if you're disruptive, Officer Davis here will escort you out. And I can walk up there and show you if you need to.
Well, and I also looked at our original West Bonner County School District, the 4105 does not include that policy. So I don't know, when you went through this, did you compare it against our West Bonner School District policy?
I did, and we just thought that was a double, originally it was there, we thought it was a double statement. Those who can't see on the screen, the first paragraph she's talking about says, in accordance with Idaho law, you could basically go to jail if you're disruptive. And then later on down below, it says you will be escorted out if you're being disruptive. We thought that was just redundant. It wasn't necessary. I mean, if you're being escorted out by this guy here, I have a chance to go to jail. You know, I kind of understand that. So that's why we pulled the first one out.
So your recommendation was to
Scratch that part.
Okay.
Right.
Then going down further, I was looking at, in terms of the bullets, go back to the first page. Where you have all of those, the list, 1 through 5, I also looked, it's where you've got that mark, because I think you were trying to be consistent, but when I looked at it, it was inconsistent with 4105F, because you put, on this one, you put the semicolons after and then, but on 4105F, which is the form, you left it without doing that, so there's an inconsistency there. Then with under, please also, district policy number 4110, you did use you capitalized the public complaints and suggestions. Our 4110, West Bonner County School District's current policy currently just calls it public complaints. So the suggestion would be, do not make it capitalized because it doesn't reflect our West Bonner County School District policy at the current name of that policy in our policy handbook. So it'd be better just to leave it uncapitalized regarding public complaints and suggestions. Then under the, there was nothing else on that page. I did see at the bottom, making sure, I think on my copy it had 4105-2 at the bottom, but I think it was just because it was part of the package. On the next page, there's a concern that, my concern is that, actually at the bottom of that page, the language there where it said public comments from, public comment from the public and matters scheduled on the agenda will be talked before action items, and then public comment from the public on matters that currently on the agenda, not on the agenda, will be taken before the close of the meeting. By striking that, we're only leaving it at the beginning. It doesn't leave it in 2 different sections. That was added in 219, or I guess 220 and 221, where we were giving 2 minutes before and 2 minutes after. By striking that, it really just leaves it at one location.
I didn't read it that way, but we can put it back. That's not a problem.
So that if people want to include, as we've been doing before and after, I mean, we talked about in 2021, it's, either doing that or extending 3 minutes. And that was, we went ahead and did that. In terms of, also in terms of after on the second page above total time allotted, one of the things that we ran into, and this was something that Vice Chair Brown brought up during the curriculum discussion back in August, was being able to identify who or the public comment was being made by, was it people in the district or out of the district? So I would suggest to the board that we include the section out of ISBA's suggested policy where we include the order, or at least have the people within the district, students who attend the district school, parents, district employees, people at that, have them have priority, and those who do not belong to any of these groups only be allowed to speak if there's time allowed, and that, but I do agree, we did have a 1 hour limit, which is great. Public participation, so I would suggest that those sets of paragraphs from ISBA on page 2 of ISBA's suggestion be inserted there. It's up for discussion. If we do a 3-minute, allow people to speak for 3 minutes. This is our business meeting. It is something, I know other school districts do 3, but if we allow 3 before and 3 after, could make it a long meeting, but that's up to the board. Next paragraph where it says written materials for trustees may be submitted to the board clerk. They must be submitted to the board clerk.
And when you have an older version, the new version does say must be submitted to the board clerk to be added to the agenda.
Okay, all right, and then down further on that, I would suggest on this one, I know it's back and forth, but because we have, summer 1 session and we're, there's just, we're up in the air on something else, I would suggest a copy of the materials that meet these requirements will be forwarded to the trustees if received by noon Thursday, preceding the board meeting. That will give a week for us to take care of it. It will give time on Friday for the board clerk to get them out to the trustees. So I would suggest, instead of received by noon the Friday preceding the board meeting or noon on Thursday during the summer, I would just make it Thursday. On that same paragraph, and it may have been corrected, materials may be presented or mailed to the board secretary. You did correct that, clerk. I did see somewhere else where it said kept secretary. Down on because of the diversity of issues and the confines of the open meeting laws, trustees, I don't know if you changed this, but will not respond to public comment. We will get in big trouble if we open that up and say we may. And also, instead of issues may be recorded, at the end of that sentence, I think it should be left what was there, that it should be where it says, be recorded and referred to the appropriate staff person for follow-up or placed on a future board meeting agenda. You've got and or considered by the board addressing the pending agenda items through open discussion or voting. We should not be making any additional action items. That is, I think, those are the only ones, those are the changes, those are the things that it jumped out at me, the biggest when I went through and compared the other to your items in Westmoreland County School Districts 4105.
And if I could speak to part of that.
Good.
So, the reason why it was, the second part was taken out, so that it would be a total of 3 minutes, so it wouldn't be 3 and 3.
Okay.
And originally, before that was changed to 2 and 2, it was 3 minutes at the beginning, so we were just going back to that. And so, and then it didn't have to be on the agenda, but it would be 3 minutes, and it could be. That's how it is at most meetings.
Yeah,
and then as far as because of the diversity of the issues and the confines of open meeting laws, trustees will not respond to public comment. The may just leaves it open in case there is some question they want to ask.
That leaves us open. It makes it very dangerous for the open meeting laws because it can be used in that if it's the board does not want to be in a position having to pay for violation of open meeting laws.
So we can strike that. That's easy, ma'am. Question for the board for editing. Do you wanna go with 3 minutes? Do you wanna go to 2 minutes? I'm all about efficiency. You just tell us now what you want, we can obviously make that change, you know, and move on down there.
From what, Maureen said, you remember correctly, I mean, I think the board needs to decide whether, you know, if it's all just 3 and everything's just one opportunity for public comment. The reason we did make the second, you know, 2 and 2, the afterwards, was that if anything came up from the public during the process, like right now you've already had your public comment. And this particular time has 2 minutes at the end, but if we changed it, then it could change that makeup of what it would look like. That's,
It also gives, if somebody from the community wants to come and talk to the board, it gives, for a couple minutes, it gives them the opportunity, because without having the second one, the roundtable or whatever at the end, we can't bring it up because it's not on the agenda. So I'm in favor of leaving it the way it is.
I'd be inclined to agree.
Okay.
2 minutes and 2 minutes.
and the only thing is that the chair does have the discretion to extend it if it seems appropriate.
Yes.
So it's not like it's a hard.
Right.
It's not done.
Did you have a question to what you said, Trustee Hall? Because what would be the difference for the commissioners' meetings and at city hall meetings and so forth, when they can actually have dialogue in open comments with the constituents? What's the part that would limit us from not being able to participate in there?
I think that's why I had put the roundtable discussion sort of there, because it was a little bit, you know, there could maybe be a little bit more of a back and forth, but I think it leaves us dangerously, and it may leave them dangerously open to violation of open meeting, because if something comes up there, people would just need to know that if something came up there, no decision can be made. It just really needs to be referred to that agenda, to the agenda. And I think it may be that there's some things that aren't always the same. I guess I would ask for, you know, this might be a place to ask legal counsel if it's all right, but everything, you know, that I've seen is that there's not a back and forth. It's our business meeting, and it's not a back and forth. But if we're listening, we can say, you know, that's where I was trying to identify that roundtable discussion at the end, so that we can say, okay, I heard this, let's put that on the agenda. And that's where I had, you know, so it was part of that conversation, but I think we may understand it, but the next group may not understand it, and it's a slippery slope, is what I get, I guess, concerned about.
And I understand what you're saying. It's just like, for when Mrs. Hurst was making a comment and she was, you know, giving some information, if there had been something there that I wanted to ask her about so I could get better clarification, I'd like to be able to do that, and so give her the opportunity to also expand on what it is that she was trying to share. I think, you know, when we can talk to each other instead of at each other, it helps us all so we can understand the situation or the question better.
Maybe it's a thing of where we say for clarification purposes, so that it's not, we have to just, I mean, I just think again, if it's not us, and this policy's in here, it may be that we put in, may respond to the public comment for you know, there may be a response for clarification, so that would be.
I think we should get legal counsel on this. I don't want to be fined or have any penalties. I think that before we go forward in that, we do definitely need to find out.
So I'm hearing that the board wants to take this back to the policy committee for legal counsel. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Next is 41.5F request to address the board. Do I hear a motion to bring that to the board?
I'll make a motion to bring 4105 to the board, and I have a few, not as many, I have a few comments on this.
Do I have a second? Trustee Hall first. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Trustee Barton, seconds. Okay. comments?
Very quickly, again, that yellow paragraph, I don't know, Stephanie hasn't pulled it up, I'm assuming that was going to be scratched again.
It was.
And I don't have a problem with that, sort of intimidating. And then this one was just be consistent between 1 through 5, there was an inconsistency in the punctuation and how you treated it between 4105 and 4105F. On that same paragraph, there was, if these, just below, if these channels have been exhausted, this form should be filled out and handed to the board clerk, adding board there. Under, I guess, again, we were deciding on that 2 minute, 2 or 3 minute, it sounds like the board wanted, looks at 2 minutes. On the next paragraph, the board trustees encourages input from the public. That one, instead of saying send them to the board secretary, should be board clerk. Written comments must be included, and name, address, telephone number, and I would like to see included, and relationship to the district. And then underneath it says all individuals appearing before the board are expected to follow these guidelines. Reading through that, I'd be very interested in seeing the ISBA's number 4 in their form, which says, let's see, sorry. This one is speakers who are district, this has to do with speakers who are district students, parents, etc. Will be given priority over speakers who are not members in any of these categories. Attendees do not belong to any of these groups, will only be allowed to speak after members of these groups have provided. So it's basically giving us priority for those who are in the district. And that was something that there was a concern that Trustee Vice Chair Brown had when we were looking at curriculum. And then the last one, item 6, which is on the revised version. I know that there may be some concerns of, I'd like to see item number 7 that's included on the ISBA included as item, which is now item number 6. But maybe editing that a little bit more, but I think its presentations are to be civil and respectful. Any person otherwise engaged in illegal, it's a little bit out of context, it doesn't read smoothly. And I would be curious to have that revisited, item number 7 on ISBA to be revisited, because there's a sentence or two that's taken out of context and doesn't flow very well.
Okay. So.
And then the form itself, actually, there's one change on the form, which is part of that, it's not even on page number 3. Under date name, I'd be interested to see maybe the relationship to the district with the checklist that's been included in ISBA's. And then on the last, under the 2 asterisks at the bottom, it says, please deliver a completed copy of this form to the board's clerk. I would just say to the board clerk prior to announcement, rather than the board's clerk, just make it board clerk.
Okay.
So is the board gonna go ahead with 2 minutes for on and 2 minutes off going forward? So that we know at least on.
That's what we decided.
Okay.
So, are we all in agreement with Trustee Hall's edits? Or not?
I lost track.
We took notes. Okay. So, the best thing to do right now is to
Remand it.
remand it back to the committee for rewording and bring it back. Okay, all those in favor for sending it back to the committee?
Or do you want me to make a motion to remand?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to remand 4105 to the committee, to the committee.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. Trustee Hall first, Vice Chair Brown second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, next, policy 5280, professional standards Commission PSC Code of Ethics. Those, any motion to bring it to the floor?
I'll make a motion to bring policy 5280 professional standards commissions to the floor and, yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, trustee Hall first, trustee Barton second. Okay, discussion?
And if the policy committee is just keeping the 5280, just that first section, or are you looking at, what are you looking at?
So, and I actually did that one. So, it used to be, if anybody's seen the old one, they had about 3 paragraphs up front about specific for local, and then it had all these sections evolved from IPA, whatever that document is. What Idaho came back and said is, they deleted all the stuff and just says, you must comply with the latest version of that document. So now it's down to about 2 pages. I kept all the local stuff, because we're allowed to have our local stuff on top of the state ones. And then it just has that one statement in there, and it says, you must comply with the latest version. And my only comment is that we have to have that latest version on our website. So I'm an employee, and I must comply with what it is. I want to be able to type it in and see what it is. And now it's on the agenda, the last IP, ADA, 80, whatever it is on there. So it just shortened the documents. All the state did, they pulled out all those extra sentences because it's in the other document. And that's all this does. It just says, here's what we want as a district. I didn't change anything. And reference the most recent document. Then we're good.
So I would make a change to what we had on our individual local document.
Okay.
Because I wasn't sure whether you're keeping the other and combining it. So on 5280, Westmoreland County School District 5280, on the first page, 2 paragraphs above where it says personal conflict of interest, we added in 2016 or so, 2017, a line there that said district employees who are contacted, not that one, where's that one gone? I know it's in here. It's on the second page above insubordinate conduct. And it says, nothing in this policy shall require the superintendent or board in the case when the conflict of interest directly relates to the superintendent to transfer an employee to a different position in an effort to avoid a conflict of interest if doing so would not be the best interest of the district. And that paragraph, that paragraph was added for a reason, and that created, I think, everybody did their best job possible, but that paragraph basically allowed the superintendent and the business manager to have a relationship, be married. And so that paragraph was added. So I would say that we either change that or delete that paragraph in the final version. Because it's not, I hate to say it, I think it wasn't in the best interest. I mean, everyone did a great job, but I think it also created a lot of headaches, and I'm not sure that's the best paragraph to read.
I would agree with trustee Hall.
And that's the history behind that one.
All right.
So do you want to reword it or you want to delete it?
I think we just delete it, it's probably the easiest way to do it.
Right on the screen right here. Consider it done.
All right.
So we'll come back for a second read, but that's where it was.
Not wrong.
Okay, we need a motion to take it back for edit.
I will make a motion to remand it to the policy committee for edits.
Okay.
I second it.
Okay, then first from trustee Hall, second from Vice Chair Brown to remand to the policy committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, yours.
We'll say thank you.
I'd like to thank the committee for looking through all this. It's an arduous task.
Okay, next on the agenda is consideration and approval of the 5-year strategic plan. Do I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
I'll make a motion to bring it to the floor.
Trustee Hall, or trustee Reinbold
Second.
to the floor. Trustee Hall seconds. Any comments? You want to speak to it?
No, I spoke to it Monday. She's tired of speaking to it.
Any comments from the board?
You don't want to go through it one more time?
I guess I want to say thank you to Superintendent Branner and to the leadership team, everybody who put efforts into it. I greatly appreciate that effort and seeing this move forward and making the budget too. It's been what I wanted to see, and so it's great to see it. So it's just, you know, hopefully it's a working document, so if it doesn't quite work, like where a document should be, it can be tweaked as we find that it's not quite right. But I think, I'm glad, thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, all those in favor of adopting or approving the 5-year strategic plan, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Congratulations. All right, next up is the, comments from the audience, not agenda items. I don't have any papers. Is there anybody who wants to make a comment? None?
Can I make one comment?
Yes, sir.
On the 33-5-12-11, it does not apply to the district office, it only applies to schools. So when you're looking at that one policy that you guys had on there,
Yes.
have your team look at for 33-5-12-11, because it will not apply to this district office. We do not teach kids here, we only teach kids in schools. And that's where that applies.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. All right, next up is treasurer's report.
Can I ask a quick question? Because we did have the public comment earlier and you're asking for comment now, and we did present the petition.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way we can get comment from the board on that, or is that gonna be discussed at a later time? Just so that I'm-
No.
As far as if we're gonna bring it up again, or?
Well, just because there's precedents already made from a petition with 20 signatures and we have a petition of over 200 signatures, there's obviously a desire in the community to have some more discussion to continue with how this scheduling is gonna happen so that the board is aware of what they're actually approving, which has already been approved, but we didn't know how it was gonna be scheduled.
Okay.
So I'm just questioning how you handle these petitions moving forward, given that in the past it was reviewed with 20 and over 10 times.
About the 20.
I have a copy of the petition that you guys had that had the 20 signatures on it that brought the curriculum back to the board. And there was only 20 signatures on it according to the records request. So I have a copy if you need to see that.
Okay. Fair enough. I don't know what to say to that, other than we can talk about it.
And the policy to bring something to the, back onto the agenda, it either has to be 2 board members willing to say that they want to bring it to the agenda. It can be suggested by the public to bring something to the agenda.
Okay.
So that's the items. And I would, 249 signatures is a lot to bring to, and I think there's some questions that would need to be answered, so it may be that we look at the questions that were posed. But I think it's, we don't really have a discussion item. I think it's something to suggest maybe under board reflection, which is sort of the roundtable discussion, is to look at the signatures and look about bringing that back to the table for more discussion.
Can we get a copy of those questions that one of you had?
Oh, that was just my personal questions. There are comments also on the survey that people who took the survey, which only had, I think, 390 people on it. But yeah, I would definitely, here's the signatures and here's my questions.
Yes, please.
So maybe give that to the board clerk and so we can make copies of it.
Thank you very much.
And send it out.
Okay.
And there's another treasurer's reaction to treasurer's.
Yes. Okay. So, thank you. We'll consider it and talk about it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for being involved. Next is the treasurer's report.
Are there any questions?
Stephanie, I did have questions. really briefly? Did you,
I guess I didn't see your question, but I don't have a problem answering.
I think you should be able to. If you can open it up, there's a couple at the bottom.
Sorry, yes.
So I had a couple on the treasurer's report this time. Usually I don't, but.
For the district or student body?
For the district, the treasurer cash summary.
Yes.
Okay, so there, I'm not seeing the levy for 2022, 2023. I'm seeing 218 through 222, but not this year's. So I'm wondering, what am I missing?
So I've been cleaning up our accounts in terms of, so if you see, sorry, it's hard for me, it's not duplicated on my screen, but right here we have our funds, which you know, Trustee Hall, I'm just sharing for everybody's knowledge.
Right.
But these funds remain the same, and our levy funds are 101, 102, 103, and 104. This description does change based upon the year that the levy amount is going into. So we keep 4 levies on our books, or 4 levy years on our books. I am not exactly sure why the title didn't change over, but the levy for this current year is 103. So I will look into why that description. I would assume that it's a data-based discrepancy though.
So which one do you think it's the 2018, 2019?
I don't think I know it's 103.
It's 103, okay.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, and then there was one more. There was on 254, it was said undesignated, there were 2 undesignated that I picked up. One was 254 and the other was
254.
Right, 254, it says undesignated. I'm just
Okay,
curious.
that is going to be another database error. That fund 254, the title of that fund is our SIRSA.
Okay, and then the other one backing up is 250, probably this another SIRSA?
250 is going to be our SR3. Correct. So that's going to be our database. Sometimes our accounting system, I change it in one place and it doesn't get reflected in the next place, and as I'm learning the system, I'm ironing out those details and making sure that you're seeing the most updated, correct information, so thank you for that feedback.
Okay, and I think those were, and then there was under 275, Distance Blended Learning CARES Act. There was like 140,000.
That is also a fund that needs to be retitled. That is a fund that has been, for lack of a better phrase, recycled. So our 140,000 was that, I wanna call it premium pay from the governor back in, I think it was awarded in September.
Okay, and are we
So
still
that's-
pending reimbursement on that one? Is that why?
I would have to, let me see.
And the governor's learning loss, I was wondering if we were pending reimbursement on
Yes, we are
both of
pending
those.
reimbursement. I have not, I believe we've been approved, but we haven't seen that check yet.
Okay. And then,
I'm sorry, you said that the learning loss is the one that we're,
Fund 275, yes, I submitted reimbursement, I wanna say 2 weeks ago, and we just haven't seen that check yet.
okay. And I'm thinking governor's learning loss, since there's zeros on the beginning receipt and transferring in this, that we're still waiting for reimbursement on that one.
Yes, and I actually received guidance from the state, I believe it was yesterday, that maybe we should be using Fund 272 for that and title it Corona dollars. But that might be more information than what you're seeking right now.
Okay, and then I do have one question on the student body summary report, and it's the library funds. And it looks like we have a negative $5,331.60 at the high school or something thereabouts. Am I reading this right? What's our plan to, is there any plan to collect on that? I mean,
The schools have procedures.
I just wonder how often, how much is that a loss? I mean, I'm trying to look at the technical financial, how much do we actually write off in the library fines? Do we have any kind of percentage that we
So
normally
it
get?
is on the student side. Mr. George stuff?
Library
Would you like,
fines are collected before graduation if not paid before.
Okay.
So students do not walk across the stage if they owe the district fines.
Okay,
We cannot withhold their diploma or transcripts.
Wish I would've known that.
Just give it the last couple of years.
or we could buy lottery tickets to pay for it. Okay, those are my questions.
so that's an in-house procedure that